two things are moving toward you simultaneously. And the interesting thing, the thing I keep coming back to as I sit with this, is that they're not unrelated. They feel connected, not in an obvious, direct way, more like they share a root, like they're both the result of the same interior shift that happened in you quietly, without announcement, sometime in the recent past. Something changed in you, and the external world is responding to that change. Let me describe what that shift actually feels like from the inside, because I don't think you've fully named it yet. It's not confidence exactly. You've had confidence before. It's something more grounded than confidence, more settled, like the difference between standing on a surface you're not quite sure will hold and standing on something, without needing to test it, is solid. You know something now that you didn't know before about your own worth, about what you bring, about the specific, irreplaceable quality of what you offer in work, in connection, in every space you inhabit. And you know it not because someone told you, not because you talked yourself into it, but because you earned the knowing through a period that asked everything from you and showed you exactly what you were made of. That knowing is what's attracting both of these things right now. Let me start with the money, because I think it deserves to be taken seriously rather than treated as secondary to the relationship element. And I think for a lot of you watching this, the financial piece is actually the more urgent thing, the thing you wake up thinking about, the thing that has had a low hum of anxiety attached to it for longer than you'd like. I want to describe what that anxiety actually feels like in a day. You're fine, functioning, managing. And then something happens, a bill arrives, or you check a balance, or someone mentions something that reminds you of where you want to be financially versus where you currently are, and there's a tightening in the chest, in the stomach. A brief moment of something that resembles panic before you get it back under control. And you get it back under control quickly because you're Virgo and that's what you do. But the tightening happened. And it happens with a frequency you don't talk about. Hold on. Because there's something underneath that anxiety that I want to name carefully. Something I wasn't expecting to find when I sat with this. The anxiety isn't really about the money itself. No, wait. Let me be more specific. The anxiety is about what the money represents, about security, about the specific, deeply Virgo need to have things in order, to not be at the mercy of circumstances, to have enough of a foundation beneath you that external turbulence doesn't threaten the fundamental stability of your life. Virgo doesn't need luxury necessarily. Virgo needs sufficiency that feels secure. And there's been a period recent, still somewhat present, where that security has felt less certain than you're comfortable with. That period is ending. There's an image I keep seeing and I want to describe it precisely. Water that has been partially blocked, not completely blocked enough, has been getting through to keep things going, to keep things functional, but the flow has been reduced, constricted, and there's been an awareness, constant and low grade, of the constriction, of what could be flowing that isn't. And then something shifts in the blockage, not dramatically, not a sudden flood, but an opening, a clearing of something that had been in the way. And the flow gradually, then more steadily, begins to normalize. That's the quality of what's coming financially. Not a windfall necessarily, though for some of you that's exactly what it is. For most of you, it's more like a restoration, a return to flow after a period of constriction. Money moving in a way that feels more natural, more aligned with the effort you've actually been putting in, more reflective of your actual value. Because here's what I keep getting about the financial piece specifically. You have been undercompensated, not slightly, meaningfully, in ways that were sometimes visible to you and sometimes invisible, built into structures and situations and relationships that you accepted because the alternatives weren't clear, or because you were in a position where you didn't feel you could ask for what you were actually worth. That's changing. The more I sit with this, the more I keep finding a specific mechanism for how this money arrives. It's not passive. I want to be clear about that. It's not going to drop from the sky while you wait. There's an action element, something you do, something you say, something you finally ask for or apply for or step forward toward that is the catalyst. And I think for many of you, that action is something you've been on the edge of for a while, something you've been building toward, a conversation you've been preparing for, a step you've been almost ready to take. The almost is over. What I keep getting is that the timing has ripened, that the same action taken 3 months ago wouldn't have landed the same way, wouldn't have been received with the same openness. Something in the environment, in this specific configuration of circumstances around you, has shifted in your favor. The ask you've been afraid to make is ready to be made. And the answer is going to surprise you with how much less resistance there is than you anticipated. Now, the person, and I want to approach this carefully because there's a specific quality to this energy that I don't want to flatten by being too general about it. This is someone who has been quiet, not absent from your life necessarily, though for some of you that's exactly what happened, but quiet. There has been a silence from them that has lasted longer than either of you probably intended when it began. And in that silence, a lot has happened on both sides. Internal processing, external circumstances shifting, the slow work of people figuring things out separately that they couldn't figure out together. And now the silence is ending. Let me describe the quality of the reaching out because it's specific and I think it matters. This isn't impulsive. That's the first thing I keep getting. This person has thought about this, has sat with the thought of contacting you, has probably picked up their phone more than once and put it back down, has rehearsed versions of what they want to say, found them inadequate, started again. The fact that they're finally doing it means they've resolved something internally, made a decision, crossed a threshold of their own. And what they're bringing to this contact is not the same energy that was present when the silence began. Wait. Actually, there's something I want to go deeper on here because I think it's the most important thing in this part of the reading. The reason this person is reaching out now, specifically now, in this window, is not random. Something happened that reminded them of you. And I don't mean a vague nostalgic feeling. I mean something specific. A situation they encountered, or a conversation they had, or a moment they experienced, where something in their external world directly referenced the quality of what they had with you, or the quality of what they failed to bring to what they had with you. And in that moment of reference, in that sudden involuntary comparison, they understood something they hadn't fully understood before. What they had was not ordinary. What they walked away from, or let go quiet, or failed to properly show up for, that was not something that gets replaced easily. That was not something the world has in abundance. And they've spent enough time now in the absence of it to know that with a certainty they didn't have before. That certainty is what's driving the reach. There's a physical quality to this incoming contact that I want to name. because I think you'll recognize it when it arrives. Your body is going to respond before you decide how to. You're going to see the name or hear the voice or feel the energy of this person approaching, and something physical is going to happen. Not necessarily the dramatic, rushing warmth of early feeling, though for some of you that's exactly what it will be. For others, it's more subtle, a stilling, a specific quality of attention that your body pays to certain stimuli and not others. Notice it. Don't immediately manage it. Don't immediately run it through the analytical process of deciding what it means and what you should do with it. Just notice it first. Let yourself feel the fact of this person's contact before you begin to assess it. Because Virgo has a tendency, and this is not a criticism, it's just an observation, to get to the analysis so fast that the feeling barely has time to register. To be so busy deciding what something means that the raw experience of it gets bypassed. Give yourself the experience first. The analysis can come after. It always does with you. It's very reliable that way. I want to talk about what you're walking into this contact with, because it's different from what you've walked into things with before, and I think that difference matters enormously. You're not available in the same way. Not closed, not cold, not deliberately withholding. Just genuinely occupied with your own life in a way that creates a natural, unperformed sense of self-sufficiency that is going to register immediately with this person. And that self-sufficiency, that real lived, I have been building something in your absence quality, is going to do something interesting to the dynamic. It's going to require them to actually show up, because there's no gap of need for them to fill. There's no emptiness that their presence automatically remedies. What you are now is someone who would be fine without this, who has constructed something real and solid in the time since, who is not waiting to be rescued or completed or given permission to feel okay. And that means if this connection is going to go anywhere, they're going to have to bring something real, not just the history, not just the familiarity, not just the fact of their return. Something actual, something present, something that demonstrates they've become someone capable of meeting you where you currently are rather than where you used to be. Some of them can do that. Some of them are going to discover in the attempt that they can't. The money and the person feel connected, and I want to try to articulate why. Both of them are about value. About your value being recognized, about the gap between what you've been receiving and what you actually deserve beginning to close, about the world in both the financial dimension and the relational dimension catching up to an understanding of what you bring that you've held privately for a while. You've known your worth. You've known it even in the periods when the external evidence didn't support it, held it quietly, maintained it without requiring constant external confirmation. And there's something about that quiet maintenance of self-knowledge, that refusal to let circumstances completely define your understanding of your own value, that is actually the thing creating both of these movements. You didn't collapse. When the money was tighter than it should have been, you didn't collapse into believing that was a permanent reflection of your worth. When the silence from this person extended longer than felt comfortable, you didn't collapse into believing it meant you weren't worth coming back to. You held your own ground, and the universe or circumstances or timing or whatever language feels true to you is responding to that groundedness. The last thing, August is asking something specific from you. Not grand action, not dramatic declaration, something quieter than that. It's asking you to receive. To let the money land without immediately minimizing it or qualifying it or explaining it away as temporary. To let the contact from this person land without immediately building the case for why you shouldn't trust it. To let the recognition from the financial world, from this person, from the various places where your value is beginning to be properly seen, actually reach you all the way. Not managed from a distance, not processed through 12 layers of protective analysis before you allow yourself to feel it, actually reaching you, actually landing. Because you've spent so long being the one who holds things together, who manages, who ensures nothing falls apart, that receiving has become unfamiliar, almost uncomfortable, like a muscle that hasn't been used in a specific way for so long that using it feels strange. Use it anyway. Let August be the month where things come to you rather than the month where you go to get them. You've done enough going. It's time to let things arrive. If something in this resonated, if a moment touched something you've been quietly carrying, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Tell me what landed. Even just a few words. It means more than you know.